even during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, a lot of this stuff was kind of ramping up. So, and you started off this conversation by saying, well, we can't always point at Trump's like the bad stuff he's doing. I think a lot of what he's doing, at least on the cultural level, will have some positive effects down the road. We might not see it immediately, but he just freed Ross. Like, there's all these other things too that he's doing that seem to be like aligned with what we would, at least as libertarians, I consider myself a libertarian, to be like some positive steps forward. But there's also other things which you're just saying, Whitney Webb and my colleague Derek Bros and Ryan over at the
Yes,
Last American
yes.
Vagabond. Those guys are like on the tip of the spear right now, talking about all the other side of shit that isn't being discussed. And so I'm just a little worried that we're getting into this like right wing circle jerk and like nobody's really paying attention to like what exactly is happening behind the scenes because we're all just too busy cheering.
Again, this gets into when we're looking at Trump, right? Can we separate good things that he does versus bad things that he does? And is that okay to do? Is it okay to celebrate certain things, like him wanting to kind of take on USA Aid, whatever that is? I know you said you haven't really done a lot of research into it yet, but let's just say this is a mechanism which funds everything we hate in the world, right?
Sure.
And he's like, I want to dismantle it, or I want to move it over here. I want to take. That's good. Like, we can celebrate those moments, but we also have to go, okay, but now you're giving arms to Israel and you're allowing the genocide of people. Like, it's like, okay, we can be like, Israel has a right to exist if you want to believe that, not the expense of humanity and not the expense of other people like the Palestinians. I just don't understand how people can accept that. And it's like how quickly people that aren't there are okay with death and destruction. How many people are pro war when they know they're never going to go fight a war? I remember the last time we were going to have a build up for I think it was Iraq. Was it Iraq? But they were like, this guy's like, we should be going to war. And they go, how old are you guys? Like, I'm 25. And like, you're old enough to join the military. Do you want to go down and say, hey, yeah, you got no skin in the game. That's why you don't want to join it. Because it's not there. You see war as a television show and
Right.
not like people are dying that did nothing to anybody.
Man, that's so spot on, Sam. And it's amazing to me, this kind of groupthink mentality, this collectivist mentality that seems to be kind of plaguing the right more right now. Because even just this morning, I was debating with people who are literally telling me that I'm just complacent with this whole we're going to take on the cartels rhetoric that Trump's taken. That's kind of his new thing. He just classified them as terrorists. And they're basically painting the picture that I'm just sitting on my hands here while they consider themselves we go after them. And it's kind of this more of like this American exceptionalism kind of mentality, or like, yeah, we're all this broader collective and we are the government. And of course, that we weren't the government when Biden was president, but now we are because Trump's in. I mean, this type of rhetoric, this type of mindset is absolutely dangerous, man. It's like this tunnel vision that people have for making America great while they're missing, X, Y, and Z. I mean, all these different things that are going on kind of behind the scenes. And you hit the nail on the head earlier, it's like there's zero nuance. It's just all this black and white thinking. And as long as our team's winning and owning the libs, then everything's good. And it's just so, it's the opposite of logic. And especially when you start seeing these videos of what's going on in Gaza and Palestine and all this, I mean, it's so destructive, man. I don't know how anybody in their right mind could be supporting that, but it's
I
so
either. I don't get it either, and it upsets me. I don't know why my computer's having because I'm grabbing my mic all the time. Sorry, guys, but I don't get it either, and it upsets me when people are okay with people dying. Like, and this
full time.
notion, like, if it's not us, it's somebody else. It's like, this way of like, kind of like, avoiding karma of what's being done. And I do believe a lot that's going on in the country right now is karma from what we did in the Middle East, what we did to the Iraqis. You can't genocide 4 million people and not have a karma blowback from that. That's my opinion. Would love to get you what you think about the cartel situation, and their role in fentanyl. I personally believe cartels are just extensions of the CIA, and this is how they make black ops money. outside of the US aid stuff that they're getting to fund their absolutely horrific black operations. What is your thoughts on the cartel? Because again, we have a fentanyl problem here, but if we learned anything from the Iran Contra affair, the people who are meant to stop it are the ones who are basically creating the problem to cash checks and make money. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, man. No, that sums it up perfectly. And all of a sudden we're tunnel vision, once again, tunnel vision on fentanyl, right? Like there's nobody's talking about any of these other drugs, and that's intentionally created that way. I mean, that's like a orchestrated psyop, because yeah, they wanted to place emphasis on this. I'm concerned about this, to be completely honest with you. Not only is Trump revamping the drug war, the 50-year-old plus drug war that has been an utter failure. We can't even keep drugs out of prisons. I mean, I know that's a bit cliche to say even at this point, but I mean, it's it's true. There's
You're so
logical
right,
proof
dude.
right in front of us. And so, in my opinion, this is only going to exacerbate the situation. Not only is Trump starting to revamp and repackage the war on drugs, he's also revamping and repackaging the war on terror. We just bombed Somalia a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys happen to see that. That's the first overseas bombing that the Trump administration's participated in. And, he's already bombed, I think Trump bombed Somalia more than Bush and Obama put together. So, like, this is something that obviously, like, he's going to continue. And, not only that, on top of it, now he's starting a trade war too with the tariffs that's going to be happening. And I know, Mexico and Canada are starting to kind of play ball here a little bit, but like, what about the countries that don't? And I don't know. This is all just very concerning to me. But back to your point here, the drug war, man, that's the problem. We already experienced prohibition in this country as being a failure with alcohol, and how many lives were lost. How many people were uh, imprisoned over that. And we ended up ending that, but yet people still believe the rhetoric, especially the people on the right, as we were just saying. Like it's amazes me that people still think that there is a way to win the drug war. We have the largest prison population in the entire world. Yes, including Russia. Yes, including China. You could look up those stats. It's mind blowing. In the prison industrial complex, man, it's just going to make more money.
I
It's just going to
agree.
continue to fill the jail cells with nonviolent offenders. I think it's half of people that are sitting in jail cells right now are nonviolent drug offenders. That's insane, man. That's absolutely insane. So, to me, the fact that we're continuing to ramp this up, I know this is all part of Trump's image and persona of the law and order candidate that he, put forth. But like to me, man, like this is the absolute wrong way of going about it. And I don't see even my libertarian friends in our libertarian circles talking enough about this. I know it's still just a couple days old, this designating the cartel members as terrorists, but like this is kind of intertwining the drug war with the war on terror, and it's only going to end badly for Americans and especially people on the border. The cartels aren't going to just back down. That's not something that's going to happen.
My problem with labeling anybody terrorist is like who's funding them, and we always know it's us. That's
Yeah,
that's my problem. So you bring up Somalia. Somalia is the whole thing is there's ISIS in Somalia, which is laughable, right? It's
yeah.
just laughable. And because we are bombing ISIS in Somalia, but we're celebrating ISIS in Syria. Like that's why everything this is why the whole thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so many people just want to check out because it's like you have to constantly be paying attention to what's going on. And this notion that ISIS and this notion that Al Qaeda and all these people or 19 hijackers pulled some Luke Skywalker, it just constantly does it. Sorry, guys. Luke Skywalker BS. Just laughable to me. The whole thing is just laughable. It's just absolutely sad and pathetic.
Well, they need their boogeyman, right? Like,
There we
oh,
go. I'm not going to touch it again. It's absolutely laughable. It's just laughable. And this notion, I just got in a discussion with a buddy of mine yesterday who's like I would say he's a progressive, and like he's okay with our intelligence agencies and our military manipulating other countries if it means we win against, let's say, Russia or China, which is like mind blowing that anybody would be excited about that.
yeah, they need their boogeyman. They need somebody to point at. There has to be a bad guy. I mean, this is, been the same playbook for decades now, and we're seeing the war on terror just being extended. So yeah, it's really disheartening, especially somebody who's claimed to be an anti-war candidate, and the right eats that up too. Like how many people have you heard saying, "Well, Trump was the anti-war candidate"? I mean, I could go down the list of all the reasons that's complete BS, and it's just it's part of being the in crowd, the in group. And it's kind of why we saw a lot of these big tech figures also kind of transition into, being at the inauguration and now being, friendly with the Trump regime because they realize that there's a shift happening. They realize that there's going to be money allocated, especially through, Trump just announced the $500 billion Stargate project, which I assume is going to be taxpayer funded. I know that they said it's going to be privately funded. I truly doubt that. But I mean, things, yeah, are moving quickly here. And again, it's just this kind of tribalistic mentality. Like, our group is winning. We're doing all these good things. And again, I'm right there with you. I'm not trying to be too black and white on this. There are some good things that Trump's done. I mean, yeah, ending US aid's great. Deregulating these markets that were overly regulated with, plenty of regulatory capture. I mean, an excess of regulatory capture. That's a good thing. And I'm not saying that's bad, but what's taking its place? Like, are we remaining skeptical? Are we actually looking at things critically? And I don't think enough people are. And to me, that's just a huge red flag, man. It really is. It's been a sharp decline. That's one thing I will say. At least Trump has a little gravitas. At least he has a little bit of a spine. At least he, even though he has people whispering in his ear, at least he kind of has a sense of direction. And I'm all for this idea of America first, like I'm not a big nationalist or any of that kind of stuff. But like, look, like if we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and Israel. And by the way, I tried to keep track of how many billions were sent to Ukraine, and I lost track after about a year. Like I think people say it's over 200 billion. It's absolutely insane. But I'd rather see that money obviously be reinvested into our country, to
Yeah.
our crumbling infrastructure. I mean, I don't think that's asking a lot. I don't think that really takes away my libertarian anarchist card by saying that. But I do feel like that is the direction that we needed to go. And that's why Trump won in a landslide, because people are tired of the globalist kind of performative, what we've seen from the Democrats for years, and if we did have Kamala, we'd be dealing with price controls now and more Agenda 2030 BS and more of just an extension of Biden's, presidency than another 4 years of Biden's presidency. So I think, they like to say that, that Joe Biden stole the 2020 election. At least this time around, it seemed like maybe it was a little more legitimate, a little bit more organic, because I think people have realized that Trump is just better for America in many ways. And God damn, I can't believe I just said that. But
I love it, dude. I mean, like, listen, I listen, I totally get everything you're saying right now.
yeah,
Like you are my spirit animal at this moment for how I feel
I'm gonna quote
because
tweet
I
you on
don't
that.
okay, yeah. I can't trust any of these guys
Yeah,
as far as I can kick them.
sure.
52 years of data says we're about to get effed.
Yeah.
But there are things that I go, okay, I trust this guy way more than I would Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I
Yeah.
mean,
But
like,
when you tell me it's like Marco Rubio that's leading the charge on USAID, I'm like, okay, Marco
no,
Rubio.
I'm with you.
Really?
It's like, why is
I
that
know.
guy in
I
there?
get it, man. Yeah, right there with you. It's such a mixed bag, and it's a little confusing to me too because obviously, like, we're knee deep in the info wars here. What Dr. Robert Malone calls fifth generation warfare. And we just had like what 4 years of people more or less kind of realizing that like anything that's mainstream is probably co-opted, right?
Yeah.
But now like Elon, I mean, what he's just like one of the biggest figures on earth and multi-billionaire, the richest man on earth. Like who better would be the court jester to kind of lead in a Trojan horse into a different paradigm? And that's kind of what I'm worried about here is that, while everybody's watching the right hand, the left hand is still kind of doing things behind the scene. And, the MAGA movement, if you don't mind me tweeting myself here, I think this kind of sums it up is that the MAGA movement seems blind to the fact that while they're celebrating the collapse of the legacy paradigm, they're unknowingly kind of paving the way for this new tech driven tyranny fueled by biometrics, AI, and mass digital surveillance. And I mean, if you look at the people that Trump's surrounding himself with, some of the policies that are already putting into place with this $500 billion for AI. And like I said, inauguration, I mean, Bezos was there, Zuckerberg was there. They're already sticking their hands out, like there's something going on here. And I don't know. To me, it's like if this dismantling of the old dying globalist paradigm, it could just be a performative ploy. Like people know, and we were talking about psyops earlier, like people know that this is a sinking ship, right? So like what better way to reemerge than having a whole new actor come in with a whole new set of goals? And it seems like there is a tech bro conglomerate that's trying to reconfigure the military and surveillance complex into more of like a public private alliance. And
And they become oligarchs by doing that. That effectively.
broligarchs, I
Yeah.
think is the term.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Broligarchs.
Oh, broligarchs. Yeah, that's funny. But that's what it. I mean, we become much like Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union with all of these, these
Oil companies, right?
billionaires who
Yes,
are in charge of their little tech fiefdoms that have responsibilities also now with the government and are getting paid by the government on the books this time. Yeah, that
exactly.
doesn't
Well,
sound better necessarily.
Elon has control over the US Treasury. I mean,
It's
like,
crazy. Yeah, it's
what?
crazy.
So,
What are
like,
your
what if,
thoughts on that? Some people are like even my girlfriend, who I disagree with her almost all the time politically. I love her to pieces, but she was like, "Why does he get that data?" And I go, "I don't know why he gets the data. There's no answer to that."
No, he wasn't elected, and he's getting data on competitors. Like he will know. It's open kimono as far as he's concerned. Now it's crazy.
if it was the opposite, if it was Bill Gates
Oh,
and Biden's administration, the right would be losing their mind. But because it's Elon and they've positioned Elon as being the savior, much like Trump, I don't think anybody's pushing back. They think it's for the better for the country. They think that Elon's this genius. And I know there's mixed feelings about Elon. I don't particularly hate the guy. I'm not completely convinced that he's like a CIA asset or some type of psyop, but like there are some reasons to potentially consider that he might be.